All right, so let's talk a little bit about the 5 element body types before we really dive into the 4 body types. I just want to show you some correlation because I used to try to treat weight loss from a 5 element perspective, and I found that it was really difficult to educate my patients. In fact, I found that a lot of patients would become almost more obstinate, more skeptical. They didn't get it. It takes a certain, I'm not saying this is everybody, but about 90% of the population is just not into like the 5 elements. Like, well, that's cool, but it's not, it's not scientific. So they wanted something more scientific. So that's when I met up with Dr. Berg. I've started getting into the biohacking stuff and started looking at the body from a more functional medicine perspective and realized that there is some overlaps, but I also want to show you the inherent difficulties when you're just using the 5 elements. 5 elements is a beautiful system, especially when you can just bring it into your own life, the beauty behind it, the poetry behind our bodies, but it does have its difficulties in trying to articulate that to someone with a Western mind. 5 body types, quick overview. Wood element is your liver and gallbladder. The fire is going to be heart, small intestine, pericardium, and triple warmer. Also relates to the pituitary gland. The water element is going to be your kidneys, your bladder, and it also relates to your adrenal glands. You look at the earth, that's your spleen, stomach, and also your pancreas. So with each of the elements, there is an associated endocrine function behind all those elements. So the wood is going to be probably more like your hypothalamus. It's sort of like the control center. The liver also happens to be like the airport where all the hormones land and they get processed and then they fly out. You know, they get the new message and fly out to the particular cell or pertaining gland. I forgot to put hypothalamus up there, sorry. Metal, that's your lungs, large intestine, and then your thyroid. So when you're looking at the 5 elements and then looking at the endocrine function, that's the overlap that you're going to come across. The fire, a lot of times the pituitary, the small intestine, the Sanjiao, pericardium. The pericardium is going to relate a lot to your sexual organs as well. Okay, so here's the wood body types. Best thing for your wood element is you got to constantly detoxify. So just as wood, as it ages, it gets more brittle. You know, the longer that you go, the tighter the sinews, the shorter your life's going to be. So wood type is going to tend to have a longer body, so long torso, long face, and long fingers. They may have a tree shape with a long trunk and slouch shoulders. So if your wood gets, if it gets out of balance, you'll find people have a lot of shoulder issues and a lot of low back issues. They're prone to irritability, prone to anger. If they're excess, if a wood type's really driven, if they're excess, they're going to be really driven almost to a fault where they can't just unplug and chill out. If their wood type is out of balance too much, if it's really depleted, they may not be able to make any kind of choices. They may just be kind of frozen. No planning is available. They get really scattered when they start looking at, like a long-term vision of a project. They just get overwhelmed pretty easily if it's depleted. They're going to have a greener complexion, short and blunt speech. A lot of times, you almost feel like a wood type is always kind of like talking down to you or angry, or they'll be extremely passive aggressive and you'll be like, what the hell just happened in that conversation? It went somewhere, but I have no idea where. That may be another sign of a wood type. And you guys know all these, so I'll go through them pretty quick. But fire body types, you got to look at the circulatory systems, you got to look at the nerves and the glands. Fire body types, you want to make sure that the inflammation markers stay low so you don't injure your heart. They're going to have a pointy nose, pointy chin, and a pointy head. Everything's going to come up almost like the fire that comes out of a torch. That's sort of the image of a fire type. They're going to be narrow at the top, flared in the middle. They'll have the plump body and then the red cheeks like Santa Claus. Reddish complexion. They'll be excitable and passionate. They can get like all fired up really quick. Problem with that is they can burn out easily. So a fire type will start a lot of projects and never finish them. So it's sort of like Michael Jordan going up for the dunk. And if he's got a lot of fire, he goes really high, but then he doesn't put the ball through the hoop if he doesn't have that water to back him up. Sam and I were just talking about basketball, and for those of you in Portland, congratulations. Your team made it through the first round of the playoffs. So yeah, hopefully your fire is all going. You're passionate and excitable. Let's go to metal. Metal body types, they can be more of the guarded individuals, more skeptical, really kind of analytical. Thin lips, thin eyelids, thin flesh on the hands, rectangular face. Really, they can be really attractive, but standoffish. They can be slim, kind of a slim build. Good communicator. Typically, metal types are very articulate, like they get almost OCD about it. They're the types that are going to cut you off and tell you, nope, that's not how you pronounce it. It's not potato, it's patata, or whatever it is. Pale complexion, clear voice, but they're going to have a lot of sadness and grief, and that's part of what may keep them guarded, is because they get cut by those experiences in life that do cause losses and cause grief. They're going to have a lot of allergies. That's obviously your Wei Qi, which you're very familiar with. So if the lungs get weak, they're going to be really hyperreactive to anything in the environment. So that lung type becomes like, that's the type that pushes things out. So what's interesting is the lungs relate to the thyroid, but there's a lot of adrenal correlation with the lungs as well. So just like the heart and kidneys work together, so do the lungs and heart. And you'll see in the adrenal body type, there's a lot of lung and a lot of metal correlation there. Earth body types. Earth, the mother, that's the nurturer. All you earth types out there who just like give and give and give and give and give. That's your earth body. You may have a short body. You may tend to get really round. You try to keep yourself grounded by putting on weight. Earth body types, a lot of times I've seen them start to correlate with the ovary body types where they put weight on in the legs. But in general, they'll have short fingers, short neck, short face. They're going to have big ears. Sometimes their face will be almost square. Bulbous nose, like mine. They're going to have a thick back and waist, strong muscles, kind of a yellowish complexion. They may speak with a loud nasal tone voice. They may sound like kind of, there's going to be a certain melody to their voice. A lot of earth types, if you're hiring somebody for your front desk, an earth type can be really helpful as long as they can multitask and do a lot of things at once. And they own their authority, then they can be a great front desk person for you. They worry, they're pensive, and they're down to earth. By the way, speaking of hiring a front desk person, my clinic is looking for an acupuncturist. So if you out there are looking for a cool job, it requires a lot of work. We have 5 clinics in Utah, and my Salt Lake clinic is where we're hiring. So give me a call. You'll have my email at the end of this. Sorry, Donna, just had to put that plug in there. Okay, so if you're worried or pensive, if a person is like really, they're kind of down to earth all the time, that can be an indicator of an earth type. So as I go through the 4 body types, you can sort of see how a lot of the similarities, a lot of these things merge. But I'm just going to talk about it in more Western terms where you and your patients can have a conversation about it. Like you and I just went through those 5 elements in less than about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And because you guys get it, this is part of our training. But if you're trying to bring that up with a patient, you're going to get looks of confusion. And then they're going to get on the internet and they're going to get more confused. So unfortunately, it may create more stops than goes for you in your weight loss program. That's one reason why we're doing this. Let's talk about water types. Water body types are going to be they're going to be deep in thought. They're going to be really fluid in their actions. unless they freeze up on something, and if they get too cold on it, it can jump out pretty quick and stop the movement. Thick eyelids, thick jaw, thick hand flesh. So, you know, you've shaken someone's hand who you're like, man, that's a big old hand. It's kind of fleshy and strong. That's usually a water type. Yeah, I've noticed they have a relaxed but a deep voice. So a lot of like those soothing DJs, like the late night, like your smooth jazz for the day. That's your water type. Slightly chubby, they may have a little double chin, but blackish complexion. Sometimes they can have some fear and timidity. So it's like, it can be really difficult to get them to try something new. They analyze the hell out of everything. It's like, well, why don't you just try it and see if it works? Well, what if it doesn't? Well, so what? It doesn't. But. You know, that can be the imbalance side of it. They can be a little wishy-washy, so all over the place.